Hi.
Hi, okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me well?
Yes. Let me adjust my camera. That's the one thing I didn't predict.
Let me.
Uh,
I already tested it. I've been testing it for like an hour, and now I'm just like, and I was like, oh my God, where is she? Like, how do I do this? How can I connect with her? It's always like so nerve-wracking if to actually be able to connect with these people. But
I
oh my
know
God, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm currently looking at my outside garden.
Oh, that's nice. Where are you
Close.
call? Where are you calling from? You're not in the UK now, are you?
I am in the Cape
Are you?
still.
Okay.
Yes, I'm in the exotic shepherd's bush.
I thought you're in Greece.
I'm moving in July, hopefully, if I'm
Hopefully.
allowed.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh, experiencing a nice Greek summer. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope so.
Where are you gonna go?
I have to go to Athens first, but then
Athens.
straight to Cyprus. It's an island. I always
Ooh.
go.
I'm not like I just have to be jealous of that. Sorry, but that's amazing.
You are invited. That's
Oh, thank
that's a
you.
one for granted.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm so excited to do this with you. And I really wanted to do this with you, like the first person to do it with, because I met you around, I would say, a year ago. And you told me what you do. You kind of explained it very briefly, and I'm going to be very transparent. And I said it before as well. It was the first time I heard of art therapy, and it kind of very much opened a new door to me about different opportunities of well-being, and kind of hobbies and me feeling well. So that's why I wanted to bring you here to kind of talk more about it, and for you to share your journey as well. Because I know you, and I know you're a hustler. I know how much you work, and you do so many other things. And I want to read a couple of things now of like exactly kind of to introduce you to a couple of people who don't know who you are. So, side note, I say Anastasia, but I know it's Anastasia. What do you prefer?
Yeah,
What do you
I don't
prefer?
mind.
You don't mind? Well, I will
No.
say, I will say I'm speaking with Anastasia at the moment, who's a registered psychotherapist for the Royal Academy of Arts, British Association of Art Therapists, and also works for Art Clubbers as a project coordinator. She has worked internationally, both in Greece and the UK, in hospitals, schools, refugees, neighborhoods, and NGOs as well. You have a quite extensive uh, work
Repertoire.
experience. Exactly. You have a quite extensive work experience. Let me tell you that. It's very impressive. You've done a lot of research as well in the sphere of art therapy, obviously, and humor therapy, which I found very interesting. We might chat about that later as well. In treating patients who struggle with addiction. And currently, you're concentrating your energy on researching the relationship between gender exploration, phototherapy, and art therapy. So
Yeah.
you're a quite various book of experience, I might say. You've done a lot of things. So do you want to just briefly explain to the people who are watching us and to me as well, what is art therapy exactly? What are we talking about today?
I'll try and like keep it limited, but it's a really broad area of the
Yeah,
mental health sector.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but a formal definition is that it's a specialized area of mental health that uses like art materials, creative techniques to handle emotions, reduce anxiety, handle
Mm,
different people with different kind of needs, diagnosis, difficulties. And there's many, like you can use any materials you want.
really?
Yeah. I like to use painting, drawing, and recently, like I think this isolation helped me research more into photography.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wanted to touch upon that as well. And that's also one of the reasons I wanted to speak with you is because so many people were talking about, obviously, in the lockdown, so many people are talking about stress. And me being the marketing maniac that I am, I went on Google. You can go on Google actually and check kind of a comparison, a couple of keywords now and before. And I checked them now during COVID, and basically just the phrases "I'm stressed," "stressful" have jumped with 100%, even more compared to before. People are just
Understandable.
looking at different opportunities for them to kind of calm down at home. So my next question is like, how did you get into this? How did you kind of take the leap? Because you studied this, obviously you have to study art therapy, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a very broad and unconventional place to go to. So how did you go into that sphere?
And I think how I went to that sphere is kind of different on what art therapy is. Like,
Okay.
I think the way I got into it, I didn't know exactly what art therapy is. When I discovered what it is, it just changed my mind.
Okay.
But I became a therapist, and it wasn't a specific, decisive moment, like, oh, that's what I want to do. I feel like my life has been like organically unfolding
Mm-hmm.
to this handling of psyche and art.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
there's definitely two inspiring figures in my life, and like one plain incident that,
Okay.
yes, made me, I think, like my father is a photographer,
Okay.
and he was born with like a natural scar.
Okay.
Right? So he's taught me how to like look behind the aesthetic, look behind the kind of fixed image
Mm-hmm.
we're given, and kind of constantly be reflective, which is a massive thing about imagery and art therapy. And my other inspiration was my teacher of theory of knowledge.
Oh,
He,
interesting.
he was like, you have to do this. That's it. We did research together. It was great.
Oh, did you, a side note, did you study in Greece and basically you moved to the UK after that, or you kind of learned about everything and you decided where do you want to go while you were in the UK?
I did international baccalaureate, so in high
Ah,
school. So I had
interesting.
to, I had,
Wow.
so I chose England, and I did
Okay.
fine in psychology, and then progressed to a master's, which certifies you afterwards to work as an art therapist.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, good for you. Like you're becoming even more experienced, aren't you?
I try. I think you can never be too experienced. Like if you want to be a good art therapist and touch base
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah.
what you're doing to your clients and patients, it's always.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. So, like we mentioned before, it's like obviously we're locked down now and everybody's stressed or fighting some kind of anxiety or we're having our moments, aren't we? We're having our good waves. How are you feeling, by the way? Are you dealing good with everything or
I think I deal with every day differently. Like
yeah.
some days are I'm overwhelmed or underwhelmed, but I try to like reflect on what's happening and
Mm-hmm.
handle day to day because it's not easy to just
Okay.
keep.
Okay. So, can we help ourselves at home? Like, can I do art therapy by myself at home?
That's a really good question, and it's quite intricate because it's a common misconception that any art making
Mm-hmm.
automatically is art therapy, but it doesn't work exactly like that. Like the way you would speak to your friends about some of your issues is not verbal therapy, and that's the same with art. Like you
Okay.
draw does not make it automatically art therapy. So in order to say I'm doing art therapy is by reaching out and actually having an art therapist who's
Okay.
professional with you. But that doesn't mean we cannot do things in our house with art that can be therapeutic. Because
Okay, so in the, let's say, I've been seeing so many like things on Amazon as well. There's these kind of like paintings that it tells you what color to put where, and that seems very relaxing. And I've seen a couple of friends do that actually. So me sitting down, and kind of that being kind of a distressor, helping me kind of relax. That is not technically really art therapy, is it? It is a form of therapy for myself, but it doesn't fall under the umbrella of art therapy.
no, it's
Mhm.
an art therapeutic activity because it
Okay.
has I think any art making is healing and it can help raise our mental health state. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we cannot say that it's automatically an art therapy.
Got
You
it.
need to,
So what would exactly, can you give me an example of what exactly could be if I come to you as a patient? What can we do exactly if it comes to painting?
okay,
How would that session kind of look like?
so the beginning is to set the therapeutic contract,
Okay.
which is basically it's safeguarding, but that's the contract of how we need to keep safe each
Yeah.
other in the space. But I
Okay.
give you the chance of picking the materials that you are attracted to, you
Mm-hmm.
want to use,
Mm-hmm.
or help you overcome your kind of defense of, oh no, I don't know how to draw, I'm not Picasso, but
Hmm.
Picasso, paint Guernica out of the womb. So that's the first step of like together being
Yeah.
able to be confident, just grab something and create a mark. And that's what happens. Like this is a triangle basically between the client, the artwork, and the art therapist. And between this triangle, reflection, projection, drawing takes place and
Mm.
continues. So,
Of time as well. It's a very interesting profession as well. And like I said, I think a lot of people don't know about it, but there's probably a lot of future into it because obviously it's a completely different world and it can open so many doors to well-being for people. And I've just speaking with you even before when we spoken, it sounds like something that I would love to try when kind of I feel like it's the moment to explore a different type of therapy for myself or like to give it to other people. Um, what do you think is the future for this career? And kind of like in terms of people who want to go into this career, is it is it spread out or is it still very much you have to really search for it? You have to kind of like me and you, I found it from a friend. Is it like that or is it going to become wider spread?
uh, I think what you first said about I'd never heard about it, I don't know about it, is the future of art therapy. Is
Yeah.
many people don't know about it, don't have the information about
Mm-hmm.
it. So I believe that's also why it's called biased. So people who don't understand it are like, oh, it's not actually therapy. Like, oh, it's just painting. So that's the future of art therapy, collecting information and research and development and trying to show that actually art therapy is beneficial and it taps on imagery and unconscious imagery that we cannot really like verbally express. Because when you were a child, before
Mm-hmm.
developing language, you were still an active participant. You were collecting information. You just couldn't speak. So art therapy has the ability to tap into that or emotions that we cannot really translate. Like, when you feel overwhelmed by an emotion
Yeah.
or when you um, swim or when you touch the sand, there's some things like that. So I think research and informing people is the future of art therapy and also adapting to the modern day. I feel like due to COVID, I mean, it's a recurring pattern, but due to COVID, art therapists had to go online,
Oh,
and not
really?
everyone. Yeah, yeah, like if you had a patient, you could not just pause the therapy continuation, so you had to go online. So I believe
Oh.
everyone was prepared.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
adapting to technology is quite interesting. And your kind of question of how do you access something?
Yeah.
It changes on different countries. I've worked in the UK and Greece, and here there's like the British Association of Art Therapists, when you can easily access, and you can go on community
Mm-hmm.
art therapy centers. But it changes
Mm-hmm.
to every country.
Interesting. So you mentioned that obviously you have a separate bachelor, so you have to have a master's to go into it as well to practice. So we received one of our followers sent us a question. She's just graduating now, and she wants to go into this. And you kind of mentioned the future of the career, but at the same time, what would you say for people who want to enter the career? How should they um, tackle the next steps of applying for programs or finding jobs and things like that? What kind of reflecting on your experience at the same time.
And I think that they should make the first decision of do they want to be art therapy practitioners or do they want to be artists who use these tools
Mm,
to do
that's
like workshops and community-based work because it's quite different. And art therapy practicing is quite
mhm,
a commitment. It
mm,
takes minimum 2, and then it goes on and on 3, 4 years.
yeah, yeah.
Sure, because it's an intense degree. It's demanding because you're
I bet.
constantly interning.
I bet. It's very interesting, isn't it? It is basically your therapist. So I work in a basically in my other job. I work in higher education, and I've met a good amount of people who study therapy, psychotherapy, the different aspects of it. Different aspects of it, different aspects of it. And I think there's this misconception when you throw art into there that a lot of people will think all of a sudden that the career just kind of falls down, or the importance and the academic aspect of it. And I'm talking not about artists thinking that, they probably wouldn't think that, but I think the general public might have a very wrong perception when they hear of it. But you're saying it's a very, very demanding, um, a very demanding degree. Was it hard to kind of, when you went into the actual practical side of it, because you've worked in hospitals, you've worked with clients, you've worked with patients, was that hard to kind of like go from the academic side to the reality side when you actually meet those people at the same time?
What's hard is that the university, because I had to
Mm.
go and work for the NHS whilst training,
Mm-hmm.
does not give, it gives you some kind of structure and gives you some tools to be able to like be in control and be safe as well, which
Mm-hmm.
is quite important. But it doesn't give you everything.
Mm-hmm.
So working at the ward was completely new to me
Yeah.
because I've been always advocate of children, and suddenly I go to like this adult male ward, which a lot of them had abused children. So suddenly I had to go from this children advocate
Mm-hmm.
to wait, you're actually a therapist. So you don't care, you're not discriminating between who has what type of trauma or pain. You are there to be a therapist for every kind of
Of
case. So
course.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
you're not taught. That's what you actually learn. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
big.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's the same for doctors, isn't it? The moment they go out into the real world, and you have to know that you're there to help everybody, regardless of any aspect. You're there to help and save lives. Well, good for you, Anastasia. That's an amazing. It's difficult, but it's great that you're at that point and you can practice it and you can help so many people. So that's great for you, honestly. Um, I have a couple of other questions for you. So, this question is more about kind of like yourself as a person, and I suppose you said you kind of tackle everything step by step. What do you kind of miss the most about life, like life before COVID, and kind of like when we go outside, what do you want to kind of like experience again?
I miss specific things. Like I miss
Mm-hmm.
opening my door and being like, I will not have a plan. I don't care
Ah,
where
yeah,
I'm gonna be. I can
yeah,
commute anywhere. I don't have to go around my house like in circles.
yeah,
That's what I've missed. I just want to have a day when I don't plan
yeah.
things. I like this part of not control in my life. And being Greek, obviously, I miss Greece. I miss my family. I
The
miss being
sun.
the sun. I miss the sea.
Yeah, yeah.
Like having my whole world as a playground and not just like these nice house, but house.
House. No, I know what you mean. I think that that was for me was very similar. I miss a lot of small things, and I miss going out. And I'm thinking that to myself since the very beginning. I miss going out and taking a very anxiety-free air, but like just relax. I don't need to think. I don't want to think of, oh, can I be out, or am I out too much, or should I go immediately back home, or am I gonna catch something? Is that kind of peace? So we kind of, for those who haven't heard this, we kind of talked about that we cannot do it really at home. You have to go to a patient. So does it?
We, we can
Uh, uh,
we
uh,
can do it we can do it at home in a way that you can do it online from finding an art therapist and doing it at home with a camera, with a Zoom, with
mhm.
Skype. You can do it at home, but not on yourself. You have
Yeah.
to get someone
So
else.
so where can we find that for anybody who's interested to find it online? Where would that be?
Okay, then you can literally Google, online art therapist, but also on Facebook groups. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing some, not art therapy, but I've been doing therapeutic workshops with my housemate here, and I found them online. I put online art therapy, and suddenly, like there was an abundance of information, a lot. So we've
Amazing.
done like self-regulation in art therapy. We've done mindfulness in art therapy. So as long as everyone knows that it's not art therapy, it's therapeutic, you can
Mm-hmm.
do anything. There's so much
Mm-hmm.
information now.
So do you have like anywhere we can find you for anybody who's interested of you helping them right now? Is there like any specific groups or contacts you want to share? Or they can just DM you after that because your Instagram is pretty
Literally,
open, isn't it?
they can personal message me and I will respond, by the way. But also have my blog, which is like Art Therapist on the Go.
Yeah.
I haven't updated lately, but I will be more onto it, and they can go on it, and I'll post different techniques and different experiences I've had
So what is that? Art therapist on the go.
on the go.
On the
Yes,
go. So people should go there. People should definitely
on the
go there.
go.
Wait, let me see, because we have one question. Somebody said, practically, what pieces of art have the best chances of activating therapeutic thoughts and emotions?
Wow,
There's the question right here.
that's really like to the point
I know, very to the point, isn't it?
question. Um, I'm trying to like gear up.
Yeah, think about it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
I
it's pro
think
it's probably very broad, isn't it? It's probably so many things, and depending on the person as well.
I think this question is kind of tapping what I'm a firm believer in. It's different being an audience on a museum, like going and seeing an artwork and oh my god, this has made me think of my like grief or my own emotions, because each person's relationship with the artwork is personal. So
Mm-hmm.
I can draw a blue dot and not care about it, but you might see it and immediately be taken to your own kind of feelings.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what kind of artwork it is, as long as it's something that makes your emotional clock alarmed. That's
Hmm.
what is, and I think that's also like the golden rule of art therapy, in my opinion. Like, we don't care about aesthetics. We don't care about
Mm.
what's the final image. It's how you, the process of making it, and what you specifically feel that makes it different.
This becomes more and more clear in my head of what actually it is. Honestly, it does, and I hope it does for people as well. Because I said very transparently, I didn't have a lot of idea what it was, but it's becoming so much more. It has to do so much with emotions and memories and consciousness, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. It's like exactly like you said it. When you go to a museum and you see a piece of art, it can resonate with you in a specific way that's not for basically the person next to you. It's very interesting, but. We had a question about this as well from one of our followers. She asked basically if there's specific techniques or specific methods of working in our therapy depending on person's psychological condition. If somebody has, let's say, a more severe depression or schizophrenia, for example, than somebody else, like depending on the spectrum, basically, what techniques would you put?
Okay, that's an interesting question. Um, because I personally, as a therapist, I don't believe a diagnosis is what
Okay.
defines the person as a whole, or their sexuality, or
Mm-hmm.
what. Like, I think it's like a puzzle. So I would flip the question, and I would say that the specific things I wouldn't do, or I would do really carefully with specific type of people. So
Okay.
like people in mental health wards, maybe collage or bringing like scissors and things like that is not ideal. Or people who have suffered from sexual abuse. If you bring liquid materials with this kind of consistency, might trigger directly to a state of panic. So I think it's more about thinking and being totally touching base with what's happening with your client in front of you, rather than specific things for specific people. But yeah, like for the elderly, let's say with elderly groups, it's quite important to have community art therapy,
Okay.
community, because they might feel isolated. So as a professional, I pick up on the research that is already being done.
Mm-hmm.
I apply it specifically to what I'm living right now, right here with this specific client. There's so much space, like there's so much space to put in new things and new materials and techniques.
Got it. And can we, somebody also asked, one of our followers, I'm just saying their questions now, but somebody asked if we do it at home or just in general to kind of help ourselves, or what you would recommend, different art therapy techniques to kind of just for mindfulness and kind of being more relaxed to kind of help ourselves as well. What would you recommend for us to do?
I think there's things you can do individually and things that are really important to do with people you live with.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Okay.
individually, I would say, observe your house. What do you have there? Do you have any materials? That this can range from like a pen, forgotten, like magazines in the corner waiting to be collaged, no one cares about, or, even fruit, like that can produce colors if you squeeze them. All these things. Take a moment, see what's happening around. and just go for it. We're always scared, am I good enough? Or um, I don't know how to do this. Just going for it is a first step. And this is quite important because in this life of COVID right now, when
Yeah.
we have no control of what's happening, having control of our own drawing gives a sense of like agency. I control
Yeah.
it. You create a
Oh,
mess.
I like that. I
I
like
think
that.
it's quite important.
It gives such a freedom. It gives such a good perspective, such a positive perspective of the situation now, it doesn't it? It gives you so much freedom to bring control back to yourself and back to kind of like the moment and just do whatever you want. It's such a
Definitely.
it's such a
Yeah.
piece of power, personal power. Yeah.
I think so. And especially to housemates. Like I feel like I've talked to people, like friends, Skypes, and everyone tries to avoid the person living in the next room slightly to not get into conversations or not do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
if we apply to simple things, which is like attunement and mirroring, it's literally what babies do when they first try and navigate themselves safely.
Yeah.
They look what the caregiver does and they're attuned to it. So with my housemate, or we've been cooking together. So like complementary, we make an artwork, a finished product, or mirroring. We do yoga classes together. We do like voguing, dance,
Yeah.
and you copy someone's body and you're connected. So I feel like being attuned. You're like I'm alone in my house, but I'm attuned with someone somewhere. I
Got
think that's
it.
important.
Oh, that's great. What I wanted to ask now, by the way, just to side note, I've seen a couple of people mention that we also have another art therapist here, Alice, and she's currently finishing her art therapy master's, which is great.
Wow.
Congratulations, Alice. And people said if we can save this recording, and which we will. This will be on our story for the next 24 hours. And also, hopefully, we can upload it as well on our Instagram and share it with Anastasia as well. And she can share it on her social media. So we'll
Mm.
definitely have this. I want to ask you, because I'm a bit cautious on time, obviously, I don't want to take much of your time, but I just wanted to ask you a couple more questions in terms of the working environment when it comes to this. How is it in terms of like you as a, is there a gender divide here? Is there a gender gap here? Those kind of like realistic everyday social things when you go into any career you can get hit by and can kind of demotivate you as well. What is your experience with that, with just a couple of words?
I feel like we live in a quite I was gonna avoid myself from saying these things, but
No,
we
no
live in a
worry.
society. So we've been bombarded by these gender fixations,
Mm,
and unfortunately, creativity and sensitivity is linked directly with women. So I think this has is evident in art therapy because you can see the balance. Like there's more women doing art therapy than men.
mhm.
A bit unfair. But yes, like working within a male ward, obviously people were hesitant in the beginning to engage because of that, because of the fear of if you create something, you crash your masculinity or things like that. So
Mhm.
it's interesting to start building small bridges to bring them
Into the
to
community,
understand
yeah.
creativity doesn't mean anything. It's just your own unlocking.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully more people will go into it because it actually sounds great. It actually sounds great. And if you want to share again, just quickly with people who just come, because I think I didn't know it could be done online. Honestly, like look how much I didn't know. And I suppose other people didn't know as well. Do you want to share again where people can find you? And hopefully, whoever needs it, they can DM you as well, and you can kind of start helping them out little by little. So, what were your pages again?
It's Art Therapist on the Go. It's my Instagram blog, which I'm currently building. And you can find me on my Evuta, I think it's here, personal account.
Yeah.
Everyone has questions or want any sort of help, they can literally send me a text and I will reply.
That's
Um,
great. That's
yeah.
great. A final question. Can this be done if somebody goes to their GP, for example, and I say that I want to kind of go through art therapy, can it be done through the support of my GP, or is it kind of a private practice?
there's so many ways you can do it because there is a way of being referred to by your GP. There's a way of accessing community centers.
Yeah.
Like art therapy is everywhere. If you notice, like it is everywhere. It's just a matter of having this courage of saying, I want to do it,
Yeah.
and make a decision. A Google search of like art therapy London or even your area, you'll immediately find it. But I work for the British Association of Art Therapists, and they do have a whole list of art therapists you can find, you can be referred to, you can be involved with.
Hmm.
I love it. It's everywhere.
So just Google it. Yeah,
Yes,
just Google it. Just go and do it, whoever
just
needs
go
it.
and do it.
Perfect. Oh my God, Anastasia, I'm so happy I saw you. I haven't seen you in such a long time as well. And I'm
And
so happy we actually had this chat as well, because it gave me a lot of clarity as well. And like I've said in the beginning, you do so much, and I know how much hard work you do for all the things you do, and how much love you put in the stuff you do, which that's what I think every therapist should do and should kind of have. You're such a nice person to speak to. So thank you so much for joining me and being my very first guest for the Hustle Guides. You've also, if I can just mention real quick, on our website, you've also posted a really cool article on a couple of tips of kind of handle self-isolation at the moment, which are great. So if anybody wants to read them, they're at artclubbers.com. And they can go and check them out there. But we share them also on our Instagram so people can check them and they can check your work. Thanks so much again, Anastasia. And I hope I
thank you
see
for
you.
having me.
I hope I see you soon.
I know this isolation needs to be over so we can all start
I
engaging,
know.
not from this
Exactly.
level.
Exactly. And we can go out and have a chat
Yeah,
and a drink or something like that. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everybody who came and watched us and asked questions. We'll save this on our story so you can watch it again and you can find Anastasia and all of her blogs as well.
yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Anastasia.
Thank
Bye.
you very much, Octave. Thank you. It
Bye.
was really
Bye,
talking to
everybody.
you. Bye, everyone.